Ever wondered what it's like to have a mind that can bend the fabric of reality itself? To be a rebel, a dreamer, and a genius all rolled into one. Today, we're diving into the extraordinary life of a man who did just that. Albert Einstein. This isn't just a story about EMC2. It's the story of a curious boy who dared to question everything and ended up redefining our universe. Born in 1879 in Ulm, Germany, young Albert wasn't your typical child. He was a late talker, quiet and introspective. Legends say he didn't speak a full sentence until he was 3. But when he did, his mind was already racing. A pivotal moment came when he was 5, sick in bed. His father gave him a simple magnetic compass. For most kids, it would be a fleeting toy. For Albert, it was a revelation. He was mesmerized. What invisible force was making that needle point north, no matter how he turned the case? This was the spark. The moment a lifelong obsession with the unseen forces pervar governing our world was born. School, however, was a different story. The rigid rote learning system of 19th century Germany clashed horribly with his inquisitive nature. He hated the mindless memorization and the strict discipline. His teachers saw him as a lazy, daydreaming troublemaker. One famously told him he would never amount to anything. Can you imagine? This troublemaker was mentally conducting thought experiments that would one day stump the world's greatest physicists. He was a rebel from the start, learning Bole from his own books and his own questions than from any classroom. He even famously renounced his German citizenship at just 16 to avoid mandatory military service, a bold move for a young man of his time. He eventually made his way to the Swiss Polytechnic in Zurich. But even there, his rebellious streak continued. He skipped classes he found boring, détails, choosing to study the papers of master physicists on his own. His professors weren't impressed. When he graduated in 1900, he struggled to find an academic job. No one wanted to hire the defiant graduate who had openly disrespected his professors. For 2 years, he was on the brink of poverty, tutoring children to make ends meet. It was a humbling period. The man who would redefine space and time couldn't even get a teaching gig. Finally, a friend's father pulled some strings and got him a job. It wasn't in a prestigious university lab, but at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern, a third-class patent examiner. To many, this would seem like a dead end, a compromise. For Einstein, it was the perfect hiding place. His work reviewing patent applications for electromagnetic devices was simple enough that he could finish it in a few hours. The rest of the day, his mind was free. Free to wander the cosmos, to chase light beams, and to dismantle centuries of accepted physics, all from his humble desk. This patent office clerk was about to set the world on fire. And then came 1905. Historians call it his annus mirabilis, his miracle year. At just 26 years old, working in near-total isolation, Einstein published 4 groundbreaking papers that would change science forever. Think about that. Not 1, but 4, in a single year. One paper explained the photoelectric effect, laying the foundation for quantum theory and eventually winning him the Nobel Prize. Another proved the existence of atoms by explaining Brownian motion. But the 2 most earth-shattering papers introduced the world to his special theory of relativity and its iconic offspring, the equation EMC2. With special relativity, Einstein proposed something mind-bending. Time and space are not absolute. They are relative, changing depending on your speed. The faster you move, the slower time passes for you. It was a complete demolition of Isaac Newton's universe, which had stood unchallenged for over 200 years. And EMC2? It was a tiny, elegant postscript to his paper, revealing the incredible secret that mass and energy are 2 sides of the same coin. A small amount of mass could be converted into a tremendous amount of energy. The power of the atom, the sun, and the stars, all unlocked in one elegant equation. The patent clerk had become the new Newton. The world of physics was stunned. At first, many were skeptical. Who was this unknown patent clerk Espachos to overthrow the foundations of science? But the evidence began to mount. His theories explained phenomena that Newtonian physics couldn't. Slowly, but surely, the scientific community came to realize a new giant was walking among them. He finally left the patent office, and professorships at top universities came flooding in. The academic outcast was now a scientific superstar, but Einstein wasn't done. Special relativity was just the beginning. It dealt with constant speeds. But what about acceleration? What about gravity? For the next 10 years, he wrestled with this question in what he called the happiest thought of his life. Imagine a man in a falling elevator. He would feel weightless, as if gravity had disappeared. From this simple idea, he developed his masterpiece, the General Theory of Relativity, published in 1915. This was his magnum opus. Gravity, he declared, was not a force pulling objects together as Newton had said. It was a curvature in the fabric of space-time itself. Massive objects like a planet or a star literally warp the space and time around them, and other objects simply follow these curves. It's like placing a bowling ball on a trampoline. It creates a dip, and a marble rolled nearby will curve towards it. That's gravity. It was a radical, beautiful, and almost unbelievable idea. It predicted that starlight would bend as it passed a massive object like the sun. In 1919, during a solar eclipse, the British astronomer Arthur Eddington set out to test this wild prediction. His expeditions photographed the stars near the eclipsed sun, and the results were clear. The starlight had bent, exactly as Einstein's theory predicted. The news exploded. Headlines around the world declared, "Revolution in science. Newton's ideas overthrown." Albert Einstein, the former patent clerk, became an overnight global icon, his name synonymous with genius. He became more than a scientist. With his wild hair, kind eyes, and witty remarks, he was a celebrity. He used his newfound fame to speak out on issues he cared about: pacifism, civil rights, and social justice. He had a deep sense of moral responsibility. But this same sense of responsibility would lead him to the most painful decision of his life. As the Nazis rose to power in Germany, Einstein, being Jewish, fled to the United States, taking a position at Princeton University. In 1939, fearing that Nazi scientists were developing an atomic weapon, he was persuaded by fellow physicists to sign a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, applications the United States to begin its own nuclear research. This letter kick-started the Manhattan Project. Though he was a lifelong pacifist, he felt he had no choice. But when the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he was horrified. He would later call signing that letter the one great mistake of his life. For the rest of his days, he tirelessly advocated for nuclear disarmament and world peace, haunted by the destructive power he had helped unleash. Albert Einstein passed away in 1955, but his legacy is immeasurable. He was a man driven by a childlike curiosity, a profound sense of wonder, and a rebellious spirit that refused to accept the world as it was presented to him. He taught us that the universe is stranger and more beautiful than we can imagine, and that the most powerful tool we have is a questioning mind. He showed us that a true rebel isn't one who breaks the rules, but one who redefines them, changing reality itself in the process. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the life of a true revolutionary. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more incredible minds, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. We'll see you in the next one.